3, 2, 1, start.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Piyush Goyal. I've been looking forward to this episode of The Nation Wants to Know. It's very topical today. I'll come straight to the point. You had a long day. You had a series of interviews and you had the announcement early this morning. The specifics of this, what is being described as the framework for the interim deal, were announced. And as we understand, this is an interim agreement, right? It's an interim agreement between us and the Americans. And it'll open up a new market for us and for them as well. May I take the opportunity to fire the question straight, which people want answered specifically? The first is this, that congratulations, because I think this has largely protected the interests of Indian farmers, though I have some clarification to ask you. My first question is this, so that you have got 18% on paper from 50%, effectively. Donald Trump does not seem to have anything on paper yet. Am I reading this right?
Well, both teams have labored for almost a year now. Prime Minister Modi and President Trump met in February last year when they decided to enter into a bilateral trade agreement for the long-term prosperity of both nations and the people of both nations. Since then, we've been in negotiations. In fact, India is the only country which has done a very detailed, very, very exhaustive negotiation and not entered into a broad agreement without the details being finalized in advance. Okay. Maybe that took a little longer, but therefore it is more robust, more mature. It protects the sensitivities of both countries. They have sensitivities just like we have sensitivities. It protects all of that and therefore becomes a win-win deal.
How much negotiation is left?
For the interim agreement, which we call the phase 1 of the bilateral trade agreement, we were to finish it by end of calendar 25. It's about a couple of months beyond schedule. But I think that's fine because we never negotiate with any hard deadlines. It's always an estimate that let's try to get over the line by fall of 25. Took a couple of months more, but therefore has become much more robust. For the interim agreement, for the phase 1 of the BTA, there's no more negotiation. We have to put into paper whatever we have finalized, and then we'll continue to work together with America because we have to reach much greater heights to become a Viksit Bharat.
Sir, there is the 25% penalty tariff which is linked to our Russian oil purchase has been removed without India formally changing its energy policy. Now, in the entire joint statement, I read it many, many times, neither Russia is mentioned directly nor is there any commitment on Russian oil. This was a big surprise because Washington was harping on this till even a day ago. My very specific question to you, sir, is the Russian oil aspect bereft of being a clause in the deal? What is the status of it?
It's not a part of a trade deal. It's not a part of the mandate that I carry. So therefore, it's not in the trade deal. I never discuss issues related to oil. They are looked after by the Foreign Ministry. They are already on record. They have more than once given public statements in their press briefings. It's a subject that they handle. It's beyond my remit.
But Trump said on the Russian oil deal that that is our Prime Minister, agreed to stop buying Russian oil.
You'll have to ask the Foreign Ministry spokesperson.
But you had there further, White House spokesperson said he spoke with the Prime Minister directly, Prime Minister Modi. India committed to not only no longer purchasing Russian oil, but also buying oil from the United States and perhaps also from Venezuela.
Well, I think the Foreign Ministry are the best people to know what happened. I did my trade deal, and that's what my focus is.
But isn't this the core issue?
I don't think so. The trade deal stands on its own legs.
The opposition is pulling out an excerpt of a certain Section 4, which seems to be part of a Donald Trump executive order dated February 6th, titled, and I quote, modifying duties to address threats to the US by the government of the Russian Federation. I want to get specific on this aspect. This says that the Secretary of Commerce, in coordination with the Secretary of State, blah, 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 shall monitor whether India remains directly or indirectly importing Russian Federation oil as defined in Section 7 of the executive order. If the Secretary of Commerce finds that India has resumed directly or indirectly importing Russian Federation oil, the Secretary of State shall, in conjunction with so and so forth,
but Arnab, I don't handle this subject.
Recommend whether or what extent it shall take additional action as to India, whether it should reimpose an additional ad valorem rate of 25% duty of imports of articles of India. So the 25%...
Probably the MEA would be the best people to respond to that.
But the threat remains, doesn't it?
I don't know what was discussed.
This is a presidential order which has said that they will monitor whether we are buying Russian oil.
It's
and
between,
if we buy any Russian oil, then they will reimpose potentially the 25%.
It's between the foreign ministry. It's a geopolitical issue which they have to sort out.
It is
I'm not in
it
the
is
picture.
an issue that concerns India.
I'm not in the picture.
But from the point of view of consistency, Mr. Goyal, the fact is that should people...
I'm very consistent on my trade negotiations.
I understand
and
that,
I stick to my job.
But when people are saying that the rate comes to 18%, they're assuming the 25% is gone forever.
But that is
Does
already
this
gone.
remain
The executive order is already out.
for now?
That 25%
But they've said that they'll keep monitoring whether we buy Russian.
That's for the foreign ministry and America to sort out.
So Trump signed this executive order on the 6th, the day before the specifics of the deal were released. So in the interim deal, is it incumbent on India pulling back purchases of Russian oil?
Our trade deal has nothing to do with oil.
But oil, are we buying Russian oil?
I don't run any oil company, neither do I own any oil company, neither do I purchase
But
or
is it
sell
gone
on
completely or are they monitoring it? So Trump is saying, we'll keep monitoring it.
behalf. You're beating around the bush, but you're not going to get anything because I don't know.
What is our position on it? We have such a deep relationship with Russia.
We'll have to ask the MEA.
Because Trump is very touchy on this.
We'll have to ask the MEA.
But they'll say, you asked the Commerce Minister.
No. They've never said that. Whenever it was oil, they have addressed the issue.
So it's for the MEA
I
to
have
consider
addressed
that issue.
trade-related issues. I address anything related to trade.
Let me go to another issue here. Because Trump's claim of zero entry barriers, he has spoken about zero entry barriers, but we don't see a blanket commitment in the joint statement. Are we correct to assume that we haven't pledged any blanket commitment on that front?
It can't work that way. Every country has their own rules, regulations, procedures, processes. America has their own. And what one normally does in a free trade agreement is tries to smoothen the process to encourage more business. So in every free trade agreement, and we've done many, you always have pathways and you segue for greater trade between the two contracting parties. And I think that's good for trade.
But I felt that, we felt, I mean, when we saw this, we said directly that Trump is usually exaggerating. When he said that that is India, will likewise move forward to reduce their tariff and non-tariff barriers against the US to zero. But the joint statement is more nuanced. It says India will eliminate or reduce tariff. This
is exactly what
on all, but it's not what Trump is claiming.
Well, it's the final document, the joint statement. And then another month or so we'll work out the final legal agreement which will determine exactly what has been
But
done.
we haven't committed to eliminating tariffs on all US industrial goods or food and agricultural products. But that's how Trump
Usually
presented.
market access is what is the important issue. And market access can be given in many ways. You give a concessional duty which gives you a preference over others. You may make a tariff rate quota. You may have a phased reduction of duty.
Over a period of time.
A lot of possibilities are there. So it's market access and the comparative advantage that really is defining a trade deal.
You know, when we saw the Trump statement initially look like a pledge, we thought it was great. But Trump spoke about a $500 billion commitment. The joint statements indicates an intent. And you referred to the same thing in your press conference. Intent is different from pledge.
Well,